Leading the innovation from Woodside Energy, we're joined by Blake O'Hara, Innovation Advisor, who brings deep expertise in subsurface discovery and providing the strategic implementation and insights, Vimal Pillai, principal at Slalom. In an evolving energy landscape, the need for efficient hydrocarbon identification is paramount. For Woodside Energy, what were the primary challenges or inefficiencies in your traditional lead screening workflows that ultimately drove this significant transformation with Slalom and AWS?
Yeah, it's a great question. We've been around as an industry for many decades, and Woodside is no different from that. And so we have ingrained into our business a multitude of very old practices. And with that comes ways of working and ways of doing things that has not evolved over time. As you have new people come into the company and new people that try to leave their imprint on what the process is for exploration, you end up with a new way of doing the same work as before. And so as year after year goes by, you end up with a multitude of these completely disconnected processes and work streams to get at what we hopefully are trying to find is the right answer for an exploration lead screening. So as we looked at that, we were really realizing that we're not getting the results that we want to get. And there was a fundamental recognition that we believe we have the best talent that you can have in the subsurface space at Woodside. And so if you don't have problems with the talent, but you're not getting the results that you want, you take a step back and you say, is it us? Is it the process? Are we set up in a way that we are inhibiting ourselves from making the best decisions? And I think that's kind of where we landed.
Yeah, I would just add, I think as we came in from a Slalom perspective and through our partnership with the Woodside and AWS, this is a really interesting opportunity to kind of come in, learn a lot about, like you said, Blake, the existing processes today, some of the legacy things that have been done, what works well, what doesn't, and then maybe take some of our expertise when it comes to other, energy industries and other products and understand, what can we do here that's truly innovative to build something from the ground up, but also understand what's the landscape of change, how can we roll out things in a phased approach.
You've identified opportunities for advanced machine learning models and predictive screening. Could you explain from a practical standpoint how these technologies are enabling geoscientists and exploration teams to make better informed decisions and what autonomous data analysis truly means in this context?
For sure. I think we can relate this back to the first question as well as to looking at what is not working well and why is it not working well. And one of the other things that we've noticed in the process, we have a lot of people that are really great at subsurface work, technical workflows, and geoscience skill sets, but they're spending a lot of their time playing in Excel, a lot of different Excel files, or playing in Word documents, PDFs, looking at old PowerPoints. And so when you're spending all of your time doing some of this manually intensive work, as opposed to really the more creative or technically challenging side, where you really derive the value in making those decisions, you're wasting value. And with that, you're also coming to the point where you're taking much longer to get to whatever the final decision is for your company. And when you're doing that, you're just missing out on opportunities. And when you miss out on opportunities in the exploration screening phase, it really is a snowball effect. If you miss the first opportunity to get into the Orange Basin, for example, then you're going to have a very hard time breaking into that at cost. You want to be an early mover, especially in the early lead screening phase, because that's how you get the best price, the best deals for what you're trying to move into. And so when we recognized that was slowing us down, it's looking at how can we get better at this? Do we hire a whole bunch of data analysts that can go and manage the data for us? Or is there a way that we can embed into our processes a little more of this new and evolving landscape, the buzzwords that you have, machine learning, AI, the autonomous data analysis, if you will, and embed that into our processes so that we can spend less time wrangling data and more time focusing on the actual technical work. Another component of that is going to be once you have the answer or what you believe to be the answer on the technical side, how do you relate that back to work that's already been done? Either work that you've done yourself or work that others in the industry have done. How can you benchmark and compare to what has happened in the past? And there's a whole component there we can talk about with storage of data and how you've stored the work that you've done in the past and how you've stored data that you've gotten from elsewhere and how you can compare it to that. But oftentimes, we heard it in a conversation earlier today from one of the speakers, a single person cannot be expected to leverage every single data point that's ever come before them. That's not realistic. And so what can we do with these machine learning models to get to the point where they can do that for us? We don't need to remember everything that's ever happened. We just need to see a culmination of all of those conclusions so that we can incorporate it in our work. And so when I think about machine learning models, I think about it in that context, in the context of how can we use that with benchmarking? How can we use that with calibrating the results that we have? And how can we spend less time trying to remember the past and thinking more about the opportunities ahead of us? And I know that Vimal's got plenty to add to that too in terms of machine learning and AI.
No, I think you hit all of it pretty spot on. I mean, the only things I would add, and maybe tied into earlier with the maturity models and things like that, that we've identified kind of working with you guys on our product called Screen Pro. A lot of what we're doing at Screen Pro is identifying, some of it is starting with what you might call a traditional application development, right? Is how can we augment and in a lot of ways still innovate and deliver a lot of value by building a more traditional application to start doing lead screening in a different way, right? But then our vision for the future is, can we implement ML in a way where we can guide users based on benchmarking data, as you said, whether that's internally or from external sources where we learn more about what the industry is doing potentially. But and even in the future, we're in an interesting space where, as you see AI getting more and more popular, technology is changing every day. I mean, it's evolving and it's just rapidly changing. Is how much can we actually integrate that? Our vision is to integrate it as much as possible. How autonomous can we make lead screening so that our users are really just more spending their time on some of the more creative aspects of prospect maturation, right? And we take some of the nitty gritty, some of the manual entry, all that kind of stuff off of their plate. So, yeah, I just think exactly what you said, Blake, is we want to be able to use technology to augment the really great people and technical skills that Woodside already has, and allow them to have more time to do other things that are more valuable, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Beyond just the technology, what are some of the most significant measurable benefits Woodside Energy will realize from this modernized approach?
Yeah, really great question, and something that we are, constantly trying to prove up as we are delivering these products in order to really get the business buy-in. One of them that we've kind of been talking around is around training your people and really embedding those skills with your employees, both on two sides. On the technical front, when we talk about subsurface work, you often have people that get really focused on a certain tract of that lead screening process. So whatever your specific skill set is, everybody goes to you. And for anything outside of that, you go to somebody else.
Oh.
And while that's great for ensuring that you're getting the highest quality technical work, it also ensures that you're going to have a lot of bumps in that process where you're now always being forced to work in serial as opposed to working in parallel. And that slows down the process tremendously. And so part of what we're hoping here with some of this ML and AI implementation as well is the ideas for what are your appropriate ranges for some of those uncertainties in place for areas that you may know about, but are a little bit outside of your expertise. In the early stages of screening, I think it's fine to have a well-represented uncertainty range as opposed to having what the company might call the best answer. So one of the things that we've seen from that is just getting a better understanding for what are reasonable ranges for the uncertainties for all of the inputs that go into the final decision for whether or not we move forward with a lead screening process. And that, again, is just one component and really what the overall goal is, which is reducing the time and doing the same quality of work and the same kind of work, but at a much quicker pace, because the industry's not going to wait for us. Competitors are not going to wait for us to finish the work that we want to do internally. We've been forced in the past to make decisions on opportunities without having what we would call really the optimal work completed at that point in time. Maybe you haven't defined all the ranges. Maybe there's one aspect that you couldn't spend as much time on as you wanted to, one uncertainty that you couldn't fully dive into just because you ran out of time. And so what we've seen now is we're at the point where we can fully consider the range of uncertainties for any potential prospect within the allotted time. And when you can move quicker like that and you be more agile in those decisions, suddenly you're a lot more competitive in the overall landscape for exploration. And when you're more competitive in that landscape, more opportunities show up on your plate. And so there's really this snowball effect where you start getting a reputation for being able to be in the room and making these decisions earlier rather than later, and showing that you're moving ahead with the times.
One thing that came to mind as you were speaking, Blake, was what's unique about our partnership with Woodside right now is specifically what Blake and others are doing as part of an innovation group within Woodside. And I think that's unique in the sense that it really opens up the possibilities. I mean, a lot of what we're talking about at the symposium is innovation at scale and so on, right? And I think what we're really trying to lead with Woodside is how can we position our product and exploration within Woodside in a position to be an innovator, but also help accomplish some of these outcomes at scale. So for example, as you said, it's how can we screen more leads in the same amount of time? So increase the pace of screening. How can we increase the accuracy and give, again, going back to giving our users the ability to step back and take a more creative, a more holistic look at the full process. And so I think just trying to tie that together. I think a lot of times when you are just maybe working in migrating an old process, or just maybe modernizing something like that, it's a little bit different. I think the true innovation mindset that's here, it's bringing all the possibilities to the table, and it makes it fun for us because we can look at it and say, okay, so anything's on the table, the intersection of that and new technology coming in. How do we make this real? How do we make this possible in a way there's so much uncertainty? We've got to consider again change management, adoption of the user base, and things like that. So I think all of those things really just overall just unlock the possibilities of what this could mean for Woodside as a company, and the outcomes that it drives.
I'll say it brings up another kind of thought process that I had, and that is, as a company for Woodside, the idea for innovation or being innovative has really been kind of a buzzword in the past. It's not anything that's been tangible or anything that's been acted upon. And so within the exploration team now, as Vimal mentioned, we do have a dedicated innovation group. And that's a mix of people on the more digital or data science side and the people with the subsurface expertise coming together, improving what can be done when you have that dedicated group. And when you're trying to prove the concept of innovation for a company that is as large and global as Woodside, you don't want to miss on this first go. And so having the expertise of people that have seen the industry, but then also just seen transformation and innovation across the globe from Slalom and AWS, I think it's been pivotal for us internally really to get the best foot forward and see how can this potentially lead to other innovation ideas for the company as we continue to prove up what we can deliver.
Absolutely. And on that same track, when we're looking ahead, how does this innovative approach to lead screening, leveraging AWS and Slalom's expertise, redefine the future of subsurface exploration?
Yeah, absolutely. We are kind of looking at that innovation approach the same way that we've looked at ScreenPro. And we haven't really spent a lot of time talking about the tool itself, but ScreenPro was built in what we call a very modular way. So there's a lot of components to the lead screening process, and you can build them out one at a time. You take these 5 legacy tools that have existed from the last 30 years, you put them together, and you now have one complete module, but it's working in isolation. So you have to figure out, all right, now that I built the second module, how can I get those to interact together? What are the synergies there? What are the complexities now from having 2 different data sources that are using completely different nomenclatures, that are from very different vintages with different assumptions? How do we get those to now work together? And then after you've done that, third module, fourth module, fifth module. And so using that kind of as the analogy for the broader innovation work stream that we have for Woodside, ScreenPro is a single product. It's a single innovation product. And while we do believe, and we've seen that it's got tremendous value as a standalone product, the question is not, what do we do with ScreenPro next in isolation? It's how does ScreenPro better enhance these other innovation ideas? And how do these other innovation ideas and work streams that we have better enhance ScreenPro? You have to balance with the users. They need that instant gratification of here's a completed product that you can use that will improve your day-to-day work streams. But in the back end, on the product management and product development side, you have to constantly be thinking, but what is next? You have to stay evergreen.
Yeah, I think it's something I really have enjoyed about working with Woodside is I mentioned the just the presence of an innovation group itself, but also, I think as a product manager, just being able to come in and look at the entire portfolio, it's something I really enjoy about saying, there's one approach that could be just, hey, we need to build a lead screening product. Could you just build that for us? That's one way to look at it. The other way is, how is this product actually helping your exploration outcomes? And then you go a step beyond that. How is it unlocking company strategy, all those kinds of things. So I think, as Blake mentioned, ScreenPro is one of them. But even in the journey of building ScreenPro, we've identified other innovation ideas that could help exploration, other tools, whether it's with data or whether it's other kind of tangential products. How can we build a suite of things that are truly innovative in changing exploration at Woodside? I think that maybe is the fundamental change that will move forward is the mindset of being able to constantly look at what we're doing, how we're delivering, and how can innovative products actually change the way that we deliver.
I think we're both excited about what this product is and the innovation journey itself. And one of the maybe unexpected tangible deliveries that we've had outside of this product or this innovation journey is data and how we handle that data internally. It's something that everybody recognizes it's important and it's crucial. And you have these micro examples of where data has been improved. But again, it does not communicate with the rest of the business. And when you try to be truly innovative across the entire portfolio for your company, you have to figure out, what do we do to this data everywhere so that it can all talk together, and so that you can make these decisions, come to these conclusions with the data. And that's, I think, maybe a little unexpected how much work that would take, but also has been an opportunity for us to look back. We've got, again, decades of this old data that nobody's using anymore, because how can you, right?
Right.
You've got way too many files to go through as an individual. So if we can start figuring out how to tag this data, store this data, and then have some of that autonomous work in the AI and ML space to get some insights from that data, you're now using it to inform future decisions. And all of this is all about really getting more data to support those models and to help refine those models as you're moving along. And the beauty of it is, every time you use the tool, it's going to be better the next time you use it. And so you feel that excitement, or really that electricity around the product continuing to deliver even above what the expectations are. And with the whole product lifecycle that we've seen, it's been all about, this is what we think we want, or this is what we think we're going to deliver. And halfway through that, you realize, oh no, we need to change, or oh no, we can do more. So how can you be a little more evergreen with your thought process on product delivery, and really explaining your product to your target audience or to Woodside, because it's not a free product at the end of the day. It has to bring more value than it costs. And so allowing us to be agile in that approach, again, really a huge strength that we've had with really the innovation team within exploration, and also Slalom and AWS along the journey.